I think we should be live. Well, if we are live, hello everyone. This is David here, and we are starting the live Q&A. So before we start, let me apologize in advance, because this is the first live stream, and I'm trying to figure out if we are good and you see what you are supposed to see. Okay, so I can read your chat already, so I think we are good to go. And yeah, hold on a second, guys, while we try to set this thing up. We are gonna stay together for a little bit, so bear with me. Harbakash, hi. So yeah, today is our first live Q&A. Like I said, I hope you can see me and you can hear me well. And while we wait for people to get here, I don't know, we can start. I could start turning the studio on, although today you're not going to hear live mixing like we said before, because this is somehow a test for me. I'm testing, you know, the live stream software and everything. Hi Mike. And since that I will have to broadcast basically 4 signals when we'll do live streams, I will have to broadcast the audio from Pro Tools and my voice and, you know, the cam and the Pro Tools screen. Most importantly, this one is not only a chance to chat with you guys, but for me to set the live stream and to see if everything is okay, and to get 2 of the signals out of the way, the cam and my voice. So I hope you can hear me well, and I hope you see me on the live stream. I'm not sure I'm monitoring correctly, and like I said on our Instagram feed the past days, these days I'm alone because all my assistants and associates are around doing live shows. But yeah, we'll try to set this up. So some people is showing up. MTP on MTV. Hi Kevin, Nail, Michael. How you doing, brother? Nice to see you. Adrian, hi. Famous Ray, it's a little quiet. You mean the microphone? I can try to, hold on, put it closer. I don't know if it's gonna work. I'll try to speak up. Yeah, I can see the signal being a little close. You know what? Next time I will get another microphone. For this time, I just have this one because, you know, it was the fastest way to set this up, guys. Volume is low. Okay, volume is low. It is unbearable because right now I can't really change it unless I put it on. Let me check if I have a way to boost it really quick. Microphones. Let's take a look at the volume control. No, I don't. I'm sorry, guys. I'll try to speak up. Let me see if I open the mixer. No, everything is up. It might be this mic that is a little low volume. I can hold it in my hands. Maybe this is better. I hope so. But yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass. Jesus Christ. Oh, stick. Alright, bear with me. I'll speak up. Volume is low. Hello, DJ Sam. Thank you for letting me know, guys, that the volume is low. Like I said, I can use all the feedback from you guys. DJ Blunt from Chicago. Hi Roman. And along with latency. Yeah, please, guys, forgive me for this is, like I said, somehow a test. I will keep in mind your feedback and all the things that you're telling me, that the latency, and I will take care of the volume too, and we'll fix that in the next Q&A and in the next, you know, live mixing stream. Nail, okay, hi Nail, I'm glad you like it. And Nail, thank you so much for the donation. Yeah, you guys have the live chat available, so if you want to boost your question and, you know, have it pop up on top, use the super chat. It's much appreciated. You don't have to, of course. I'm gonna reply all the questions that I'm able to reply to. But yeah, if you want to support the channel, we have a super chat. Thank you, Neil, so much. Daniel, hi. DJ Blunt, earbuds are solution. Yeah, I could try that. And, you know, let me answer a couple of questions, and then I might have a pair of earbuds, and I will try that later. I just have to plug in here. So, okay, JoBoneTube, thank you for telling me. At least I hope it's passable somehow. All right, so let me read. So you guys, you can start, you know, with the questions. I'm gonna be here for an hour and a half, a couple of years. Sorry, a couple of hours. A couple of years might be a long fucking live session. I might have to eat in between, but yeah, for an hour and a half, a couple of hours. So yeah, okay. So Gianluca, have I tried Acustica audio plugins? No, I haven't. I tried them years ago. Like I don't want to say 10, but kind of. And they were unstable on Pro Tools at the time. I'm sure they are not right now. But I never got around trying them. But I heard a lot of people, you know, talking about them and liking them. So at some point, I might try them again. And Acoustica Audio can, you know, it's free to get in touch with me, and we can set up something. Room, Daniel John, room can be a big problem for SMB. Okay. Wow. Anna, I'm glad it solved the problem. Room acoustic. Okay, I'm trying to keep track. So many questions, guys. SM7. SM7 is the microphone that has the most side rejection of any other microphone on the market. Not the best back to front rejection, although it also has an extremely high rejection from the back. It's like second place, but it is the one that has the most rejection from the sides. So a big room is, the SM7 is the best microphone for a big room, basically, because you have number one microphone for side rejection and is number two for back rejection. So I would say absolutely no, it's not a problem. Actually would be a first choice for me. I use the SM7 to do my tutorials, so I know him well. It would be my first choice on a bad room, and I love the SM7. So I hope this answered the question. Let me read some of you guys. For room acoustic, SonarWorks reference 4 helps a bit. Okay, I have it there. You cannot see it, but I have the microphone there, and I have the software. I tried the software. The software seems to work really well. I gotta be honest. I was impressed with it, but I played for it for a couple of days only, and then I didn't have the time to dig into it. But I can tell you this, potentially, for what I know about the software, because I've used it for a couple of days, I set it up, I didn't use the mic to do measurements. I think it can help a lot, especially on bedrooms, especially on headphones. But I was using the software with my monitors, and after a couple of days I found a a couple of presets, a couple of setups that were giving me a different perspective, and that is, I think, the most important thing. It is not really a matter if the end result was flat or not. My room, as you can see, is, you know, more than well treated, and I know it very well, and it's consistent with results. I don't have a problem. My room is flat as I want, as I need. But the software for me was working because it was giving me a different perspective with every preset. One was the NS10, sorry, the preset of that. It was just giving me a different perspective and showing me something, letting me hear something in my mix that otherwise I wouldn't notice. So it was useful even for me that I have, you know, a big room and a professional room. But I never turned a bad room into a good one with that, just because I didn't have time and didn't have a reason to do that. But the software is solid. That's honestly, what can I say? And disclosure, they sent me the microphone for free. They didn't pay me anything, so it's not a sponsor. I tried the software, and I think it's a valuable piece of software. Sorry. Wow, so many of you guys. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can add no, I can't. I need some delay with the question. I added a 40 seconds delay, but you guys are so many. Okay, let me go back a little bit. Michael, thank you for the support. Michael just pledged $5. Thank you so much. Okay, so Neil Conway, single compressor versus multiband compressor for electronic FX Twin kind of music. Don't divide compressor versus multiband, like wideband compressors versus multiband compressors by genre. It's true that EDM especially has a very wide dynamic range, and it's different for each frequency range. This is why often we use multiband compressor, but it's not a rule. It's the nature of that kind of genre, that kind of music, that somehow leads a mix engineer to prefer a multiband compressor. But I'm kind of, I don't know, I have fear to say just go for a multiband compressor first. What I mean is, multiband compressor has filters. It's the nature of the machine where the crossovers are, so that will change the sound, the source anyway, somehow. Is always a bad thing? No, not necessarily. You can also use a linear phase multiband compressor if you want a more transparent result, but it's still, I still see it like mangling the material. I have my multiband compressor, my drummer, that is so musical. The crossovers are so musical that, strangely enough, every time I plug it in, it seems to add something to the source. But it's also a hardware fat compressor, which has a color. That's mostly what I like. But to answer the question, I would say this, because I'm trying to keep them short because I tend to talk a lot. Try a wideband compressor first. And then, if it doesn't work because maybe, you know, the material is so complex frequency range wise that you need separate control, then you go to a multiband compressor. But you need to go to a multiband compressor. Don't go to the multiband by default. Try a wideband, which is the simplest, tested, proven method of controlling dynamic. And then, if that doesn't work, and if the internal sidechain doesn't work either, because maybe it's the kick triggering the compressor, the wideband compressor too much, or maybe the snare or the hi-hats or whatever the fuck there is in the material. If not even the internal sidechain of a wideband compressor works, then you go to a multiband. But keep it as, you know, a second choice. Just because it's a little more complicated to tweak, it does change the material, and most important, don't use it in parallel because of the crossovers. Okay, don't use multiband compressor in parallel, guys, unless you're using a linear phase. Okay, I hope that answered the question. How do you set up yours, like Studio Gym Family? Do you have a routine? That was Wouter Hardy. I hope I'm not butchering your name. Costa, hello, man. Hello. Yeah, I'm trying to read the question from the start. I'm trying my best. Sorry. Okay, so let's go to the where we are. How do I set up my hours? Okay, my hours. The best way to describe it is, I wake up around, I don't know, 11, 12 p.m. and I usually come to the studio. I mix as long as I can, usually for about 4 or 5 hours, something like that. Then I go to the gym. I go back home, eat, and then come back in studio till, I don't know, 2, 3 a.m. And then I go back home and finish my meals, and that takes me to 5, 6 a.m. So yeah, I wake up at, you know, at 12 p.m. but I sleep 6 hours because I go to sleep at 6, 7, 8 a.m. And as for family, I don't have one anymore. Well, this is, let's not go there. I just broke up and with my fiance, so I don't have that problem anymore. I got no family. I got a cat, but you know, the cat is self-sufficient for the most part. I want to get a dog. I hope this answered the question. That's funny. Shiv B, if I missed something, please rewrite it, because you don't, I mean, I have so much shit going on. Time marches on. Hi, man. Hi, nice to see you guys. So many familiar faces. Frequel, one of the best channels. Thank you, Frequel. Okay, VKJ85. Hello Tanish, hello Bill, hello Famous Ray. Let's answer this question. With the measurement microphone, I get way different sound from Yamaha HS7, aka multimedia louds and old B&W. Okay, well, yeah, doing measurements in your room will, if done correctly, will definitely help for sure. I just don't need to do that. This is why I didn't really use the reference mic. You know, we can probably do a giveaway with that mic because I'm not gonna use it anyway. So why not? And you know, it's gonna be promotion for Soundworks. Why not? All right, let's see what else. It is important to follow equilateral triangle rule to place in your monitor. I like that. I have set them up that way. The same distance that I have between my main monitors, which are the small Adams, and me, is a perfect triangle. This is also why, and people have been asking this, I have such a small screen, because I want the screen to be okay. So if this is my Adam, my monitoring, like sound monitoring, the screen I want it a little behind them, so don't have direct reflections, and I don't want the screen to be on top of the monitors. So this is why I have this small screen, because I want my A7 to be as close as I am to them. So I don't know if it's important. It depends on the room. In my room and in the one that I had before, yes, it's the best position, and I'm telling you why. And I'm also telling you why I like to keep my monitor close to one another, because of what I call the rubber effect. So when you listen to your music, you have your two monitors and you're listening in stereo. The mono portion of your mix comes from the phantom image, from, you know, straight up to you. If you put your monitors like you see on many control rooms with big boards too wide apart, the rubber effect is this: the mono image of your mix start to stretch, start to fade. It changes the balance between what you're hearing and what actually is your mono source. So that, does it make sense? So the farther apart your monitors are, the less clear focused is your mid channel, your monitoring mono channel. So this is why I like them. I like the monitor close together, and also helps with stereo image, meaning if I keep my monitors, this is how wide I have them. I have slightly wider than my shoulders. It helps because if you can make your mix sound wide by having your monitors so close one another, then believe me, when your mix is gonna go out, it's gonna sound fucking wide. If the opposite happens, so if your mix sounds super wide because you have your monitors spread apart, you know, 90% what is going to happen is that when you play it on another system, it's gonna sound narrower. So yeah, I like to keep equal triangle with the monitors, and the distance between the wall that I have in front of me and the monitors is also very important. I don't remember, don't keep them, like there's a sweet spot which is about 80 centimeters, I think, if I don't remember wrong, which is the worst place, you know, you can place it. So monitors distance from the wall that I have in front of me right now, it needs to be either up close if you don't have a rear ported, or it needs to be further than 80 centimeter. All right, let's read some other question. Your thoughts on mixing with tinnitus? Tanish, I'm sorry, I don't have that, and I don't have that happening so often because my monitoring volume is ridiculously low. Like if I do this, it's louder than how much I'm monitoring. So it's very rare that I leave my room, or while I'm mixing, I hear ringing in my ears. But so I'm not the best person to answer that question. I don't actually know. I don't. I would bullshit you if I'd reply you. All right. Okay. So let's see who else. Shivby, please tell us how you add samples with Superior Drummer. In a live video a day or two ago, you showed a song with simple arrangement and told you, yeah, I always do that. That is the reason because I adore Superior Drummer 3. And what I do, well, first of all, 3 videos are coming up. I did a campaign for Toontrack on Superior Drummer 3 because so many people ask the same question, because apparently I use Superior Drummer 3 differently from anybody, or at least in some ways. And yeah, I was very happy. They contacted me. We set it up. They are gonna come out 3 videos dedicated to, they are already done, ready to go. 3 videos on how I use Superior Drummer 3, how to trigger a real drum badly recorded and turn it into a professional sounding drum kit by replacing completely everything: hi-hats, cymbals, snare, kicks, toms, everything. One is gonna be that. One is gonna be how to mix your sample drums, so the samples inside Superior Drummer 3 with plugins, with the internal Superior Drummer 3 plugins. And the third one, I don't fucking remember what that is about. I'm sorry. I don't remember. I think it's some advanced use of Superior Drummer 3. But to add to reply to your question, Shiv B, the way I do it is I usually get sent real drums recorded, so I have a multi-track, and I usually use the original recording too, unless it's really fucking bad. What I do is I use the tracker tab on Superior Drummer 3, and I import usually my kick, snare, toms. I don't trigger hi-hats and room sounds and cymbals, because I'm fortunate enough to always receive well recorded material. So the rooms, the ambient, the overheads, those mics are always fine. And even kick and snare and toms are fine. It's just the standard that we are used to asks for more kick, more punch, more snare, bigger, wider, you know. So what I do is I import the tracks into Superior Drummer 3 in the tracker tab. I turn them into MIDI, which is super easy with Superior Drummer 3. And then at that point I select what sample I want to add, and I do that while playing the original drum too. So I get a feeling if I need to use the original kick too, or the original snare too, which is usually the case, with the song playing. So all tracks open. I don't solo the drums. Don't do that, guys. You know, you can't mix the drum alone and then, you know, stick it on the mix. But then, yeah, once I imported the tracks into Superior Drummer 3, I triggered them. It's actually the Superior Drummer 3 does it on its own. It's so accurate at triggering every hit. And once I have the part, I tweak the MIDI that Superior Drummer automatically created. So I tweak velocity, I establish limits for how low every hit can go, how high every hit can go, and I usually add, I don't know, it could be anything. I did mix the one mix that you're talking about, the one that I featured on Instagram a couple of days ago, that had like 4-5 snares. 3 were centered mono, and 2 where I used them to create a very wide stereo snare with a long verb. So I picked a couple of samples in the electronic library of Superior Drummer 3 that had a long tail. They were slightly different. It's cool. I'm gonna show you guys that mix in a tutorial. And they have a long tail, and the tail is different left and right. So I have this really punchy snare in the mid, which are 3 samples plus the original snare, and these 2 that create the ambient on top of ambient mics from Superior and overhead mics from Superior. Is really cool. Kick is usually 1. I don't like to stack kicks, and I think it's fucking stupid, because it's a kick. Okay, get a sample that you like, and then if you got balls as a mix engineer, you're gonna be able to compress it, parallel compress it, EQ it to make it the biggest sounding kick ever if you want. There's no fucking need to add stack 4, 5, 7 kicks, because it's just gonna be a phase mess. Different with snare, but that's just my thought. Some people might take this bad. All right, I hope this answers the question. Let's go on. Zubar, hi, what's my workout look like? All right, let's keep these. I will reply that, but let's keep these. I have a personal channel for that stuff. Zubar, feel free to come there. I'll reply to you in details. But my workout, it's very, very, I don't know, basic. I work out 5 days a week. In my workout it evolve around the main exercises, which is some kind of press, some kind of row, deadlifts, and squat. Do that. You know, I usually follow some sort of push-pull schedule for my day. So one day is gonna be a press, the next day is gonna be a pull, that's gonna be a push, and you know, That's it. And it's not a split by muscle, it's a split by exercise, by movement. So when I press, then the next day I use my legs, and then I use my back, and then I have one dedicated day for deadlift. And people talking about my traps all the time, like how you build your traps. Pull 450 from the fucking floor. That's how you build your traps. But yeah, it's very simple. Don't do too many isolation exercise. Get strong at the basics, you know, some sort of press, some sort of squat, and that's about it. And do it for 20 years. All right, let's go on. The same question as what do you organize my days with so much activities? Yeah, here's how I organize my day. Here's how I do it. I don't have a social life. That's pretty much it. Because between the two channels, between the mixing, which is crazy, it's crazy. I'm not complaining, guys. I'm happy. I'm mixing platinum records. I'm mixing, you know, products that go out on the market. I'm probably different than many, yeah, shit, I shouldn't say this, other YouTubers. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a mix engineer. That's my main thing. So I do what I love, and I couldn't be more grateful for that. But it's a lot of fucking work. Like right now I have 4 albums in line, and the way I organize my day, it's compartmentalized. When I don't multitask, never, ever, because you're gonna suck. If you do 2 things at the same time, you're gonna suck at both. At least I do. So when I mix, everything is turned the fuck off, and no phones, no anything, just mix. And when I mix, I can keep such a deep concentration that actually drains me. So this is why after 4 or 5 hours I need to get the hell out of here, because I can be so focused for those 4 or 5 hours that, you know, after that there's nothing left. I need to go and train, because somehow training and fatiguing my body recharges my mind. I don't know how the hell that works, but it works for me. And then when I train, again, I have no phone, I have no texting, I have no anything with me. I just fucking train. Then when I go home, while I'm eating, I take care of, you know, online and comments and all of you guys. And I love that. That is, I don't do YouTube for money. And I do YouTube because I love teaching, and because I love to help people. When you guys tell me, hey, you know, my mixes got better because of what you said, that's the best reward ever for me. That is like, I smile like stupid while I'm having my yogurt at night when I read your comments and someone said something like that. I'm like, this is why I'm fucking doing this. You know, that comment is why I'm doing this. So yeah, but compartmentalize, you know, try to plan your day. And I do have a routine, so I do the same things every day. Shit, I even eat the same things every day. This is how I try to keep variables out of the way. So all my variables and my only variables are the creative ones. So I don't have to think about anything when I'm mixing. I can just, you know, free my creativity and do all kinds of crazy effects. And right now that I'm going through an extremely tough period in my personal life, I seem to be more creative in the control room than ever. I can't wait to show you guys the mixes that I'm doing right now, because I'm telling this myself. I've done some crazy stuff on those, and it's so cool, and I want to show them to you. But yeah, compartmentalize, try to have a routine if that works for you. And I posted a couple of days ago on Facebook, the truth is I would need 48 hours days. So it's not easy, you know. And when I say keep grinding, I say it for a reason, because it ain't easy. But, you know, hard work pays off. So fuck around outies. We have a famous video about it. Don't do that, you know. Be very selective with how you spend your time with where you put your energy with, because time is the most precious thing we have. We don't get that back. So don't waste time on things and people that don't deserve, and just focus and spend time and direct your energy towards your goal. You want to get good at mixing, then mix every fucking day. You want to get good at making beats, then do that. You know, how much time you spend on Facebook or Instagram, or those are fucking slot machines. Okay, you know, you pull the lever and you wait to see how much you win, you know, with the notification shit. That is instant gratification. You know, how many hearts, how many likes, who the fuck cares? You know, just work in silence and show your results. That's the way to organize your day. Sorry, I just, you know, I let a lot go. Sorry, it wasn't intended. You guys stop me when I blabber. All right, let's go past. Guys, hello to everybody. I'm losing track. El Mondo's hi. Bill McDonald's hi. Armand, Anna Cruza. Okay, so we're you'll be following in a while. Bill McDonald, hello. Wow, okay. Holy shit. We are back. Way back. Daniel John, which EQ is your go for add brightness to the top end for a muddy vocal recording? Ooh, the thing is, I use mostly the best high boost for me EQ is my mastering EQ. But plugin wise, let me think. I really don't have a the Mag EQ probably. Either the Mag EQ or the Waves API 550B are those that I like for rock. Here's one, TDR Nova, the multiband dynamic, the multiband dynamic EQ. The high boost is crazy good. Maybe because it's a parallel processing, I don't know why, but that is such a nice, sweet, modern sounding high boost. I love it. And what else? I don't know. For me the high end is never just the vocals, is everything. So I use my mastering EQ for brightness in general, and I use the Red Silk on my Neves tape saturators. Those two things combined is what gives me the shine, and that is on everything. And in your mix you should always have one element that you decide, okay, that's gonna be the brightest. So it could be a snare, a hi-hats, a vocal, and then adjust your bus from there. Okay, plugin wise, I said Mag EQ is great. The Nova the TDR Nova is great. Manny Marroquin EQ, the high boost, is also really nice. The Pass EQ from SPL Plugin Alliance has a certain kind of high boost, which is, I don't know, somehow sparse, that I really like. Doesn't work on everything, but it works well on many things. Oh, and my Tegeler Cream lately, it has a Pultec EQ, is only boost EQ. The high end is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's right now I'm using it on vocals because I'm using the Dione on a mix bus. So I have the Tegeler Audio Cream on the main vocal bus. That's what I'm using. I just have 3 clicks at 18K. I'm looking at it right now. It sounds amazing. All right, let's try to reply some other. I am sorry and apologize in advance if I will not be able to reply all questions. Use the super chat to boost your question, because it appears like big thing, and you're supporting the channel with that too. And you know, if you have a really important question, you want me to you know, see it, that's the way. Okay, Andrea Piola, thanks man. What you think is the secret of modern pop metal vocal production? Stacking vocals. I won't name names, but okay, I've seen mixes, like open mixes of top 10 artists, and female vocal. It was something like 20-25 tracks, and it's not the lead 25, the lead by 25. It's so many harmonies and ghost vocals, doubles, both mono and stereo, tucked in, very, very dynamically controlled. Ghost singers. So people that has vocals extremely similar to the lead singer that sing the same part, maybe not, a little better, and they tuck it in. And then there is, of course, multiband compression on vocals for me is a standard. There's a lot of compression, and one thing that I noticed that many not professional, as in home studio vocals, come out from what I notice on vocals coming out from, you know, not professional productions, is there's just too much high end all the time, you know, and that is a combination of everything is a combination of your monitoring system, the cheap microphones, and the microphones right now, except for a bunch, they tend to be overly bright, because what they want to do is to impress you the first time you hear the mic. So as a human beings, when we compare, let's say, two microphones, and one is brighter, we will recognize that as better, at least for the first 30 seconds or the first minute or even the first hour. My point is, this is how our brain works. So keep that in mind, that by default, everything that is brighter will appear better to you, to me, to everybody. You need to sit down and actually compare your vocals, your microphone, your mixed vocal with a commercial release sorry, to see if you have an objective perception of how bright that vocal is or not. And that is not easy. You require good monitoring, you require experience, you require a lot of things, skills. But yeah, the secret of modern vocals is, well, first of all, very minimal arrangement. Pop, especially pop, tends to leave a lot of room for the vocals to live in. And that's a trend in many genres. And stacking vocals. But, you know, when you have a very talented artist, stacking is not necessary. It's just good mixing, writing levels, and good performance. Remember, the first thing, the most important things for vocals is the goddamn performance. A mix engineer can do a lot to treat a vocal, but it will always be not to par if the performance, if the talent is not there. There's no fucking way around it. Okay? So you will get a good vocals, but if you're shooting for top tier, you need talent first behind the mic. And I can assure you, you guys know I mixed MC Solar album. You hear the difference. The guy is good at what he does. And when you have the tracks, yeah, you go, yeah, okay. Now I understand how they do it. And that album went platinum, double, won album of the year. So did I mix it okay? Yeah, I suppose, because it got so, you know, it went so well. But the performance and the talent is the first thing. But other than that, stacking vocals, harmonies, doubles, effects, parallel. Let's go on. I realize I talk way too fucking much. Costa, any advice on calibrating studio monitors behind pink noise? Measure. Get a measurement microphone and measure with, you know, what is your RT60, what is your frequency response. that is standard measuring. Pink noise, it's not even that important. I mean, it's important. It will give you a starting point, but for example, I had once I set up the new room and I put my monitors and my sub in, I actually had to move around my sub a lot to find the sweet spot, because it didn't really matter what the measurement were telling me. My mixes didn't translate outside. So means that the way I'm used to hear my room, the way I'm used to hear my mixes, and comparing them with commercial releases wasn't matching with the flat response that I was reading in the measurements. So what I've done is, and could be a pointer for whoever needs to place a sub. I placed the sub here on this chair where I'm staying. Well, not on the chair, on a stand. And I started walking around the room. And when you walk around the room, you see the bass changing. You play some song that you know well. You start walking around the room and you hear places where the bass is changing. At some point, I had a familiar sound. If you know the song that you're playing, at some point you will find a spot when everything sound the way you remember it sound. The bass, the kick, all the low frequency elements we will find by walking around and having the sub where in the listening position where you're gonna sit. You will find a place where you have a balanced response. Well, put the sub there. So that is to say, measure pink noise. Yes, just measuring, calibrating microphones, and make sure you have a preset level. I have 2 presets on my Drummer MC 3.1, which are so very useful because it doesn't matter where the knob is. I push the button and it gives me my level, my reference volume for monitoring. Make sure you monitor at the right. Make sure you measure at the right level. The level that you're gonna be mixing for most times. And then at the end, just use your ears to space the monitors, place the sub, because also we are not standing right this way, mobile when we mix. We move our head around. And if any of you guys has experience with Adam monitors, their tweeter is so sharp, so it changes a lot. But yeah, in the end, use your ears, play a familiar song, and make it so that you get that familiar feedback from your monitoring. That's why people find problems in the car. Not because the car is magic, but because they are used to that sound. They listen to music in their car or home system so often, casually, that they are used to that sound. And when we are in the studio, instead we listen to music analytically, and we have a different perspective and a different approach. When we take our mix outside in the car, we get it in the familiar environment, shit start to pop up. So make your studio a familiar sound. Don't shoot for a perfect flat, if that makes sense. All right, next question. Whoa. Hold on. I lost track again. Sorry, guys. Jamun Tube. So you're a vampire living at night. Yeah. And that's the only rational reply. Yeah, no, I live night. My day is just tilted 6 hours forward. I go to sleep, like I said, 7, 8 a.m. and I wake up at 12 p.m. Okay, Kevin Matthews, director, professional UK. I use quite few parallel channels, such exciters, overdrive, stereo with sub, various reverb. What issue could you imagine, and how it is best to route so that I have control over the mix? Hard to tell without saying the actual page. That's a lot of shit. I use parallel channels all the time. Like I probably have but let's say if I have a 50 tracks mix, I might have 20 parallel channels. If I have a 90 track mix, I'll probably have 30, 40 parallel channels. So okay, exciters, overdrive, stereo width, sub, various reverb. The only thing that you need to keep in mind when paralleling stuff is phase. Phase between the direct signal and the parallel affected, compressed, saturated track. Not linear phase EQ in parallel will 100% cause phase problems. Period. That's science. Whoever tells you otherwise, it doesn't know what the fuck is talking about. So if you have a kick, you parallel it and you EQ the parallel channel. Let's say you compress the kick, you send the kick to a parallel compressor channel, and you EQ the parallel compressor channel. That will cause a phase shift. Period. It's not debatable. If you need to EQ, you EQ either the sum of the parallel channels, you sum into a summing bus and you EQ that, or simply you EQ the source. Let's say your kick, you parallel compress it, this is the dry, this is the parallel. You have too much low end right now because you injected the parallel signal. You take it out from here. You take it out from the dry signal, which, you know, the byproduct is going to be sending less to the parallel channel, so the overall bass will go down. Don't EQ the parallel channel unless you use a linear phase. But why do that? You know? As for everything else, pay attention with effects like reverbs and delays. It's not really a problem paralleling. We all parallel those. Overdrive, saturators, compression, parallel is never a problem. Is a problem if you use a multiband, which again, we talked about it before, has crossovers, so those crossovers will cause a phase shift. Pay attention when you parallel with that. I would not do it unless you use, again, a linear phase. Stereo width in parallel sound really fucking weird to me. I don't know. I would need an example because I don't think I've ever paralleled stereo widened anything. I do use stereo wideners on effects themselves. So if I send a vocal to a reverb, I use the stereo width, the stereo spreading on the reverb, on the output. I don't parallel stereo wideners. I don't know. I cannot think of one situation in which I would do that. Okay, I hope this. So yeah, parallel EQ is what you want to pay attention to when paralleling. Everything else is fine. All right. M Lodos, thank you. Have you ever tried Mixbus by Harrison console, and how do you feel about the DAW today? I bought the Waves NX and okay. I heard the Mixbus by Harrison, the DAW. We are talking about the counterpart of Pro Tools made by Harrison console. I heard it. I heard the sound, I heard the saturation it has, and it's very nice. It's really nice. The thing is, I cannot even begin to think about switching DAW for me. I never used anything but Pro Tools. But if you see, this is the problem. Pro Tools is a pain in the fucking ass. All right, we all agree on that. There's no way around it. Sorry. But it's the standard. And it's the standard for a reason. And I highly doubt that will go away as a standard. So why would you care? Well, it's like hardware. The classics, are classics for a reason. It's not because it has the best features or the best sound, those sound the same, or the hardware is sounding better than the other, is because we are familiar with it. We are familiar with the default settings, and the default settings will drive a mixing engineer to work in a certain way. If you have a different DAW, that DAW will will lead you to work and have a different approach. So this is my view on the Harrison. Sounds great, but would I use it as a DAW? No, just because if I want that color, I would probably get, I wish Harrison would do a dedicated saturation plugin instead. Because the DAW you use will make you, will force you somehow, will lead you to take choices that are different from based on what DAW you use. It sounds stupid, but it is like that. Like a car will have you driving in a different way if you have a 4x4 or a Lamborghini. One is not better than the other. Lamborghini cannot go off-road, but you're not gonna drive in the same style a Lamborghini or a 4x4. Doesn't make sense. So the DAW, Pro Tools is the standard, and Logic Pro became really popular for composing, but for mixing, no. So sorry guys, I need to chew gums. I will do this. I'll try to be quiet. Next question. Anna Cruza. I have in mind 4 Golden Age project channels and 2 ribbon mic 2 by them too. I have a 57 or 58. Okay, I think, there's the beginning of the question. You need to buy some stuff. Okay, so your choices are Golden Age project channels, 2 ribbon mics. Well, I say you cannot go wrong with buying 57s and 58s. I don't like the D112. Oh, you have the 57s and 58s. I'm sorry, I have zero experience with Golden Age products. I have no idea how they sound, how they are built. I have no idea, sorry. Adrian Costa. What was the thing that made you realize that you want to become a mixing engineer and let go of being an artist? Thank you. Love you back. It was a combination of things. The first one, I had a deal with Universal Records for my first album. They didn't pay shit. I had 3 songs taken from that album going on a famous video game, Rock Band 3. On PlayStation and Xbox and shit like that. Sold 63 million copies or something like that. Universal at that time didn't pay anything. Didn't pay the sales. There was no way for us to check. Contract was locked in. I actually had a contract for 3 albums, and so it's like you go work in an office, and at the end of the month they don't pay you. How the fuck you're gonna do that? So for as much as I loved it, it wasn't possible to go on that way. And you don't go on you don't sue Universal. You're gonna lose. They know what they do at the time, not now. Different people. But after that, I released, I already wrote another album. I released that one with a different label. But the most important thing was simply that the rockstar lifestyle wasn't for me. When I was done playing, I would gladly chat for 30 minutes or an hour or something, but then I wanted to go to sleep. And be done with it. I didn't like the backstage life, the everything that you can imagine can happen. It happens. I just didn't like that. I didn't like to be on the road, and most importantly, I loved mixing from day one. And I don't know, I just liked it better. When I actually tried to do a mix, like I sat down and said, all right, I want to make this one sound good, I had good results. People liked it. I did it after another 50 times after that. People still liked it. And then because of my past as a musician, I had some contacts. I got 2 big remixes. They went well. And from there I started to get requests, and the 2 things combined. I wasn't liking the rockstar lifestyle, and I was liking the studio style a lot, so it came natural. It was a natural evolution for me. I hope this helped answer the question. Paul Lucas, when mixing drums, do you start with overheads and room or kick and snare? Kick and snare. I listen to all the tracks. I do listen to all of them, but my default is usually kick and snare, and I start with the kick, then with the snare, but most time I keep at least one ambient room open when I'm monitoring, because you're gonna have very, very bad surprises if you start mixing and you solo your kick and you listen just to the kick or just to the snare. When you open up, let's say the overhead track or a room track, it's gonna sound completely different. So better start mixing by also having one of the, I usually keep what I listen to the tracks, and I usually decide right away which one is gonna be my main kit track mic. Could be the overheads if they are beefy enough. I don't like overheads that, you know, have only the cymbals, or a room track. I decide which one is gonna be my main kit track, and then I keep that open and I start mixing kick and snare while listening to them together. I hope this answered the question. Polly Pocket, hello. My last invest was a Buzz REQ 2.2. This EQ sounds so great. Do you use a different EQ in your chain? First of all, that's a hell of an EQ. I tried it. I love it so fucking much. It's ridiculous. The Buzz EQ, the Rec 2.2 is fucking fantastic. It's really good. I love it. So, good investment in my opinion. I use different EQs in my chain. I wish I could show you, but I have my main EQ is this here in front of me. It's the Nocturne Audio custom mastering EQ, which is basically a Bax EQ with filters, and Bax filters plus one mid bell, one mid channel. Well, by mid I mean mid frequency, because usually Bax EQ have only low and high shelf. I have the Bax and this mid frequency, which is a bell, and we call it mid voicing, and this gives me basically everything I could possibly want from a master EQ. I have input pad on it, I have HPF and LPF, I have an output trim, I have transformers independent from the EQ that I can just click in, so I can leave the EQ flat and just use the transformers. And I have the greatest thing is, for each band I have another switch that the gain on each band goes from 0 to 5, and that is mastering mode. For each band I have a mix mastering switch that turns the level, instead of going in 1 dB steps, it starts from 5 and got to 15. So it's like 1.2 something per click. So it just changes the range, like the API what's the name, the 5500, the master EQ has the range button. This has 2 ranges, the mix range and the mastering range. In the mix range goes from 0 to 15, and the mastering range goes from 0 to 5 in 1 dB steps. So it's all stepped. But the Buzz EQ is awesome. Other EQs that I use in mastering, in mixing, is recently I had these for a while, but I recently rediscovered them, and now I use them all the time. Are the Chop Shop EQ by Louder Than Liftoff, and I'm using them. I have two. They are mono, 500 series. I use one for lead vocals. I now have this one dedicated for lead vocals. Like, for example, I have one distressor that is dedicated for my mono crash and one distressor that is dedicated for lead vocals. That's like, I never changed those. Now I use one Louder Than Liftoff for broad shaping the vocals, because he's got high pass and low pass filter and is a tilt filter. So it's the vocal overall, it works so well because it keeps the vocal natural. So you don't have bells, you don't have notches, you don't have bumps, but it just tilts if it's too bright, if it's too boomy, and it has a resonant high pass filter and a resonant low pass filter. So it's really good at boxing the vocal in a specific space. It works amazing. And like I said, I used them in this way the first time on the MC Solar album, and then I thought, hey, you know, why I don't try that? And so these Liftoff EQ are what I use. Other EQs, the Teleger Cream for 2 bus, if I'm not using my mastering EQ, or I use them in combination. Anything else really, I think plugins EQ wise are there, unless you want a special piece, like something weird, or you know, that has a specific sound, like Harrison, for example, come to mind. I had 4 API 550Bs. Those were my mixing workhorses. I sold them for 2 reasons. One, because I have so much color that when I EQ, I prefer to stay in the box. I don't need color from EQs, especially with the track count I have. Fuck that all the fucking way. And second, because, you know, op-amps on API were breaking all the fucking time. I love API. I love it. I mean, I have a 2500 in front of me here, and the only preamp I have is the 512. So I adore the sound of API, but those goddamn op-amps, come on. Okay, so sorry. My where are we? Did it hurt to get hair like that? No, I am actually really good at it. I just use the razors because I got balls, so I don't use the trimmer. Like, this is how real men shave, and you practice, you get good at it. If you do it a couple of times, you'll see. It's just, you don't even need a mirror. You just take the razor, you know, shaving cream, and you go. And look at that. And this is actually, I shaved my head on Sunday, so it's like, what is today? Wednesday? Yeah, it's pretty neat. Matt Bell, hi. Oh, what else? See you, Ryu. Oh my god, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your names, guys. What sub you got? I got an Adam Sub 10. And when I was rebuilding the room, when we made this room, I went through a phase in which I felt that I wanted a bigger sub. Then I retracted my my phrase, because this is enough. This is enough. And yeah, I have an Adam Sub 10. Sorry, it's right there on the corner. Famous Ray, please make a video showing the complete mix and master steps. This will be more helpful to us, as I have collected a lot of knowledge from you too. Well, yeah, well, okay. We are gonna do live mixing streams, but a complete mix, yeah, I can do that. It's probably gonna be more than one live stream, because I never mix once. Well, no, I do mix one song in one day, but that will not be useful for you guys, because this is the way, and I think one of the questions was advices on how to mix an album. This is the way I work. When I get an album to mix, I take a look how many tracks there are. I look at how many tracks are in every song. I pick the song that has the highest number of tracks, and I start the album from that one, unless I'm required to start, you know, somewhere specific, which usually is not the case. So I build my template for an album from scratch all the times. I mean, I have my hardware set up and input and outputs and hardware inserts, but I build every album as a complete new project. So once I mix the first song, I use that template and I import the tracks of the new song in that template. And since every song past that will have less tracks, I will never have to add any more tracks. That's why I start from the highest track number song. But the point was, if I do a live streaming on me importing the tracks on a template for an album, that will not tell you anything, will not be useful for you guys, because I mean, I'm gonna do it because you miss the real mixing part, which is the first song. When I decide, okay, this album, how the drum is gonna be. It's gonna be a roomy sound. It's gonna, you know, have a punch snare, or the kick is gonna take over. How's the bass? Is the bass gonna be like a main element? That depends on the arrangement. It's gonna be a guitar-driven album or a vocal-driven album. What sound do I want for these vocals? And I decide that on the first song or the first couple of songs. So that is the process that you guys want to see it, and that will take, you know, a couple of days or 3. With the streaming and me explaining you things, that's probably gonna be more. But yeah, we're gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. I need to set up the live stream because you guys, like I said, need to see me, hear me, see my Pro Tools page, and hear the audio. So I'm setting this one up, and this live Q&A is also a test for that. I wanted to see how it works, if the streaming goes well here in the studio, and from here I'll set up a ready to go, just click the button and record live stream, so I can do mixing while I live stream, because, you know, I also have to mix, otherwise you won't have anything to look at. All right, yeah, you're welcome, Costa. What else? Oh my god, we still have a lot of questions. I can't turn my mic up, sorry, Pixel Comet. This is the best we have today. Okay, I'm reading you guys. Why is different with snares, Kevin? I think you're referring to. Show me. Put this closer. Why is different with snare? It's not that it's different with snares. It's different with kicks. So I said that wrong, because kick have a lot of low end, and if you take a look and if you start stacking kicks, you will see, you know, the waveform are all, you know, imagine you have 4 or 5 kicks. The waveform is so slow, the rate is slow, that different kicks will have different rates. So you can, of course, time align them and phase align them, but you're gonna have, if you stuck like 4 or 5 kicks, you are gonna have some sort of cancellation at some point, which could be useful in some you know, portion of the frequency. But why in the fuck you need to stack kicks? I can understand if you want like 3 kicks. One gives you the bottom end, one gives you the meat, and one gives you the click. But other than that, come on. That's just my opinion. Like, if I've been sent mixes with like 6, 7 kicks. I mixed it, but I looked at the page and I said, there is no fucking reason to have 7 kicks. I can pick 3 and make a big of a sound anyway. This is why I'm here. This is why we mix. Okay? With snares it's different because there's not much direct phase correlation between different samples. Snares are usually so different, and they don't have that much low-end content that even if you stack them very rarely, unless you run into some weird case, you will have one canceling the other. They do add up one to another, and kicks sometimes they just don't. At some point, how big or how much low end can you possibly have on a kick? There's a thing called headroom, and that's it. Okay, next question. What point in your career did you started making people pay for your work? Pretty much right away, but it was a different time. Let's say I mixed my first album, my first things for myself, and when someone asked me to record at that time too, I asked them some money. But it was a different time. Today, for you guys, it's hard as shit, because there's a lot of people out there killing the market, because everyone with a computer is a goddamn engineer, and everyone wants, to be paid, and everyone wants client, and everyone wants, credits. So they are killing the market by offering ridiculous prices for mix and mastering, which, I mean, it's fine. I mean, it doesn't really affect me. I don't give a shit. But for upcoming mix engineer, this is bad practice. It would be much better if mixing engineer had some sort of gathering and they agreed to keep a minimum price, all of them. Because first of all, if you're good at something, never do it for free. That's a general rule. Second, mixing is a job, is an art, and it should be paid. And the fact that it's like bands that get asked to play for free in clubs. Fuck you. Fuck you. So much. Why? And this is just unfortunately how it works. I wish I had a solution other than being pissed about it. But yeah, to answer your question, it was a different time. It was 15 years ago and maybe more, and I started asking for money right away. But at the time, there wasn't this good vibes only bullshit going on Facebook or Instagram that everybody is happy and life is amazing and everything, so let's just do what we love and don't care about anything else. No, you gotta pay bills, so yeah, unfortunately, I don't know, but one advice that I can give you is pick projects. Like if you see a project that is worth that it could be potentially be successful attached to it, do it for free, because that is your investment. If it's not, either you walk away or you convince them somehow that you are working and your time is valuable, you're worth something, or you walk away. This is why I tell you always, this career, music in general, as an artist, as a mix engineer, when you start, unless you have connection already, you need 2 things. You need either fuck you money or another job. Meaning, if you have fuck you money, so you have a certain money on a side, and when a shitty project gets on your table, you are able to say, no, I'm not mixing this, or hey, I'm gonna mix this, but I want 10 grand. Because you don't depend on that job. Putting food on the table doesn't depend on that. That's what fuck you money means. and or you have a regular job, and then you in between things you try to build a career. This is a better way to make it, because, well, it's such a competitive environment, this one, the music business in general, that if you start lowering prices and doing things for free, then it's gonna be really hard to convince people you from that day on you need to be paid. So start well. I wish, I had a better answer. Let's go on. Sorry, guys. J-Man, what's your approach for getting a consistent low end on bass guitar so that some notes don't sound high passed? Okay. For bass, I have a couple of techniques that I use successfully in pretty much every mix. One, well, my main compressor for bass is usually the stressor. So that's my bass compressor, and it's usually between 4 and 6 ratio and about 4 to 10 dB of gain reduction. I can tell you my attack and release. My release is usually about 3, my attack is usually about 6. So a slow-ish, mid-slow attack and a fast, not too fast release. But 2 things on bass. 1, ride the level, note by note. If you have a wild dynamic range on bass because the players was not that great, or because the bass itself, the instrument itself, some bass can have wolf notes, so some notes are a lot higher than others. Sorry. You need to ride the fader like you would do with vocals. Andy Wallace does that. Listen to his bass. They are fucking amazing. And that works. So fader rating before going into the compressor, so the compressor has an easier job for bass. Second is parallel compression, especially for a solid low end. And the other thing is distortion, which allows you to somehow, I split the bass sometimes. So I have the low end, the very subby low end, which say could be anything from 100 down, and then the high part. And I usually have a parallel distortion saturation for bass, not usually, 99% of the time. That will help you with intelligibility on bass. But you need to keep the low end clean or not too distorted. Let's put it this way. A little bit of saturation can help actually having a solid, consistent low end. But and keep that separated if you want. Split the bass and keep the low end and compress it. And if for sure it needs to be compressed differently than the high mid-range in the bass. That's why on my distressor I have the high pass filter engaged, so the compressor doesn't react to the low end. That one, the compressor doesn't even see it. It reacts to the mid. And I also have if you see, the distressor has the peak detection. Well, in the detector it has a peak sidechain, so it focused on the mid frequency. My main compressor for the bass, my distressor, is set up that way. Don't look at the low end, look at the mid and compress based on that. So don't compress based on the low end. And then if I need, and the low end of the bass is not consistent, I compress that separately, and I might make a parallel channel for that. And I surely have a saturation and or distortion channel, which also helps, and fader rating. Okay, that's important. If you have a handful of notes that pop up, just turn the volume down. It's really that easy. Waves, bass, rider, I don't know. I don't even know how to use that. I suppose it can be used and it works well. I take 5 minutes to make my bass solid with fader riding. Okay, next question. how do you convert your mono sound to stereo without phase problems in mono playback? How to play a mono vocal to stereo without problems. So this mono to stereo thing, I've got asked this so many times. All right, first I reply directly to the question. You can use doublers, you can use a real double, meaning another performance. So let's say you have your lead vocals. If you have your lead vocals and you copy this and use doublers on the copy to make it stereo, you will have some sort of, possibly, not necessarily phase problems. If you have two performances, so you have your main vocals and a double, which needs to be as identical as possible, and you use the second one that split it and make it stereo with a doubler, with a short delay, with a short reverb, with whatever stereo effect. There are so many. I mean, every goddamn plugins can be made, you know, stereo, but just a simple delay. If you have two different performances, all you need to do is to take the double, copy it, and turn and move the copy of the double few milliseconds. The original is not going to be the same as your lead vocals because it's another performance. And the other one, you won't care because you have a stereo effect. Now, this is the point. Guys, you cannot have a stereo mix that is 100% monocompatible. It is not a thing. It doesn't exist. You would have a mono mix. So every time you have any stereo effect, whether it was stereo to begin with, a sample, whether you made it stereo with delays, reverbs, effects, doubler, whatever, when you mono it, you are going to lose something. It is normal. It's a matter of how much, it's a matter of how much you want to compromise your stereo mix for sake of monocompatibility. Many professional engineers will tell you not that much, because what's important is the stereo mix. It is important then the mono mix, that when your stereo mix when monoed doesn't lose the overall balance, so the vocal doesn't disappear, or the kick and snare or bass don't disappear. That is important, but as much as you want to sacrifice taking away from the stereo to be monocompatible, it is up to you, and it depends on every song. But yeah, if you only have one vocals and you want to make it stereo, you can use either short delays, so you copy your track. You can use doublers, you know, make it parallel, use the doublers, take the center away and only use the sides. That will not cause you phase problems. Use a doubler, any doubler. The Waves is one, is a classic. There are like Crystallizer also works well. Soundtoys Microshift also works well. A simple delay, dual mono delay. You know, move one side something like 20 something milliseconds, move the other one, you know, 40 something milliseconds. Add some modulation conservatively, because vocals are gonna sound out of tune if you do too much. Or add a short ambient reverb, which don't imagine tail, imagine just early reflections, like I know TrueVerb and RVerb and so many reverb plugins have the possibility to turn down the tail and just use the early reflections. Make those stereo, use those, you know, you send your lead vocals to a stereo reverb and you use only the early reflections. Add again some modulation to make it interesting. Add short delays. You can make, I showed a trick some days ago on a tutorial on how to make the vocoder synthery vocal sound. You can make that stereo too. There are so many ways. To avoid phase problems, you shouldn't really have that many phase problems. You're gonna have phase problems if you have a parallel EQ'd mono lead vocal copy. But anything that is stereo, you're gonna lose some in mono. Fuck it. It's normal. It's just how stereo to mono difference works. Okay, as long as your vocal doesn't disappear because you only have, you know, one vocal and a copy just shifted, that's not, don't do that. But unless your vocal disappear in the mix when you mono your stereo mix, fuck it. The effects are ear candies. This is why we say it's important to mix in mono, because you need to have a balanced mix when your song is being monoed. But of course you're gonna lose some stereo effects. That's normal. How much, how many, that depends on you and your taste and what you decide you want from a song. You want a very fucking wide stereo mix that sounds gigantic and then loses a lot when monoed. That's a decision every mix engineer has to take for every song. You're club oriented, so you want few sounds in stereo and a lot of punch in the mid. That's taste. It's not, there are no rules for this. I hope this answered the question. All right, next one. Oh my God, I'm so behind. Thanks for the answer. Okay. Thank you, Siri75. Okay. Should I want one sub or two subs? David Allen. I don't know. I never used two subs in my life. When I made the new room, I was about to change the sub, and I considered to get two, but I didn't in the end because one was fine for me. I have zero experience with two subwoofers, so I can't tell you. One works for me. I had the multi-track for Doomed from BMTH. They have about 40 vocal tracks. Funny thing is, the singer has 3 tracks. Yeah, exactly. So Andrea Piola is telling us that he's got a multi-track from Doomed and BMTH, and yeah, 40 tracks, and the lead singer only has the track. Yeah, this is how it works. This is how big production works. I had one with a female famous singer, US top 10. There were 45 vocal tracks. 3 of them were hers. Vocal stacking. The trick is for the mix engineer to make it sound like it's one person singing and maybe a couple of more harmonies, when instead they are 40. That's our goal as a mix engineer. But yeah, and harmonies, background vocals, doubles, good different performances is what makes a production sound expensive. It's not the EQ, it's not that compressor, it's the arrangement, it's the vocal arrangement. It's some guy with balls of steel, sitting there and starting to arrange and harmonize vocals in different parts, then get singers with talent to sing the part and then stack all that shit below. And of course, the singer needs to sing. Bill McDonald's, but we can answer a few questions. I don't know what you mean. Mac Type 8. Currently having success multi-micing and multi-tracking to get thick, heavy guitars. I'm trying to get more front to back that. Any tips on this? You're awesome. Thank you. Right back at you. Yeah. Okay. So, well, first of all, with multi-tracking guitars, the first thing is play well, play tight. That's, of course, comes without saying. I wouldn't put more than a couple of mics on each performance, to be honest. But if you want front to back, I mean, there are a ton of tutorials on recording vocals. I can give you 2 things that I've never seen around. One is, I'm sure you guys know the Yamaha Sub Kick, the woofer that is turned into a microphone that people put in front of kick drums. All right, try put that in front of a guitar cabinet, then tell me how it goes. That sounds pretty goddamn huge, and that can also give you the impression of a sound heard from behind the speaker. So you have your, let's say, MD421 and Royer or SM57 on your speaker in front, and then what the fuck? And then you have your Sub Kick. Is the Yamaha Sub Kick the woofer? You can build one yourself. There are tutorials online. It costs like $20. You just wire the opposite the speaker. You put it on a stand, then you put it in front of the guitar cabinet. You put that one there, and it will give you this hollow sound with a lot of bottom end, like if you were listening, you know, the amp like this. So it has a back feeling. The other tip that I can give you is, okay. So let's see, you have your amp, you have your microphones here. Just put a mic here on the cab, looking at the side of the cab, and add that to taste. These are just few tricks. I don't record anymore, guys, but I've been recording for a long time, and I've been recording a lot of fucking electric guitars. So try these two things. The Sub Kick thing in front of a speaker, that is badass. And I'm giving this stuff away for free, by the way. And the mic pointing at the side of the cabinet, I can also add. I'm not a fan of room mics for electric guitars, but it can be an option. So basic, most simple response would be to try to put a mic behind the cabinet far away. You might have face problems though, but try it. You know, sometimes works. If you find a spot, or if you nudge it enough, you spend enough time nudging it on Pro Tools, that mic can also be used. It all depends how well the room sounds. I hope this helps. Next question. I do a lot of bass heavy mixes and my low end sucks. I am sorry, David, to hear that, but try what I said before about manual riding it, and once you start doing it, you know, the first time is gonna take you some time, but then, you know, you're gonna get fast at it. What else? What is your opinion about gain staging? DJ Blunt. It needs to be done as first thing when you start to mix, and you be good at it. It should take you 10 minutes to do it, not an hour, and that's it. It's the basic. It's the foundation where your mix will sit on. If you don't do gain staging, and if you're not able to, or if you don't have that clear in your head, don't even try to mix. Especially if you're using hardware outboard. If you stay in the box, that's a lot easier. A lot easier. You can get away with a lot of mistakes. Let's put it this way. And you can correct, you know, while mixing, or when you are in advanced state in your mix. If you use hardware, no. You need to have the concept of gain staging very fucking clear in your head, and you need to do that first thing as you spread the tracks on your DAW. And so I'm gonna say this once clearly, so I hope it will be useful. Gain staging, as a general rule, what you want to do is you spread all your tracks on the DAW, on Pro Tools in my case. You put all the faders at 0. Okay? And you play a chorus, a bridge, a part of the song when everything is playing. Then at this point, with the song playing, you take a look at your 2-bus, at your master bus, and you make sure that you have enough headroom, which could be anything from -18 to -12. It depends on your style of mixing, how much you're gonna add. I personally add a lot with my parallel channels and a lot with my hardware, so I want to have a lot of space on the two bus, a lot of headroom. So for me, it's a minimum of 18 dB. With all the tracks playing, with all the faders at 0. Now, this super rough mix should sound somehow balanced, meaning you should be able to at least hear all the elements present in the mix. So the kick, the snare, the drum in general, your bass, your guitars, or synth, whatever. So somehow your lead vocals, somehow everything should be audible while the mix playing, all the faders at 0, and you have enough headroom on your tubas. This is how you start the mix. Now, what if your tubas is clipping? If you're putting all the faders at 0, play the song, and you are clipping on the tubas, what you do is you don't adjust the faders, you adjust the gain. That's why it's called gain staging. You don't turn the faders down. You leave the faders at 0, you adjust the level of the gain. So let's say everything is balanced by your clipping, then you can, as I do usually, you lowered all your tracks by the same amount. That is in case your mix when played is already somehow balanced and you can hear all the elements. I usually receive this kind of mixes because when they record the tracks, they do a rough mix where they can hear everything and they send me the tracks that way. So I'm able to gain stage quickly because let's say I'm clipping, I can lower everything by 10 dB and keep that balance, the balance that who recorded was listening before sending me the mix. Of course, if something is off, you just tweak it and turn it down. But this is the concept. You use the gain to make headroom on your tubas. You don't touch the faders. The faders are there for mixing. The gain is there for gain staging. So you lower as much as you need to so that you have a balanced mix. So everything is audible. Faders at 0, headroom on the tubas. This is the first thing you should do when starting a mix. And yeah, it's seriously, that is the most important thing. You cannot even start a mix without it. All right. Have you ever thought about doing a masterclass at your studio? Yes, I did. And we also are considering tours, as in picking a couple of big cities, US and Europe, and do masterclass there. It's tricky because my schedule is goddamn crazy, and we will have to test you guys. Like, we will probably at some point, maybe after this summer, present something like this and see how many are interested, where, and if we have enough people to set it up, is gonna be easy. Really, I'm willing to do it. Just I need to work my schedule around something like this. As for doing it here in my studio, we are thinking about it, but the problem is I don't know how to say this without sounding crazy. My facility is a bit of a bunker, meaning people don't have access to my room and to my level. I am below the ground. Bands don't come here. Artists don't come here. They cannot come to my place. Like, producers do. Artists don't really have direct contact with me. I couldn't work at the pace that I do if I had musicians around or people around asking me or telling me, or I deal with the producers, with the labels, but yeah, a masterclass here could be planned. I also have stalkers, unfortunately, and I'm not shitting you guys. So there are a couple of things that needs to be considered for me to do that. I would rather do it somewhere else. Let's put it this way. But I'm considering it, and hey, let me know. Write it in the comment. If we find a place where it's convenient for enough people to come, maybe I can do it in another studio. I featured other studios all the time, so I'm so willing to do that, and I'll be happy. We could do it in one of the studios that I featured. Why not? I'll be happy. We'll try to set it up. We'll see how many people are interested in. All right, next question. Hey, you're welcome, Costa. It's always nice to see you. Richard Vela, how do you avoid getting fatigued while working on music? I work with a very, very low volume, 90% of the time. Low volume is key. This is why, this is how, this is the only way, the best way I can mix. In one day, I can mix 2 sessions, one of 4 or 5 hours during the day and another 4 hours, 5 hours at night, with, you know, my training being the break, which is a couple of hours and a half plus a couple of hours for eating and taking a shower. But I can mix, yeah, for a total amount of 8 to 10 hours a day, without getting, well, at the end of the day, I'm fatigued, but I'm going home. So meaning effectively for 8-10 hours, keep your volume low. First of all, because you're gonna ruin your ears, and second, because you're not gonna be objective, because everything sounds great when, you know, you blast it loud. If your mix sounds great at low volume, it will sound better when boosted. Of course, at times you have to turn the volume up, because there are some things like low end and shit like that, you need to feel it. So there are times in which you want to turn the volume up, but generally speaking, spend 70% of the time mixing very low volume, like typing mixing volume. All right, next question. Sweetwater Rap told me 2 subs is better than 1. Of course, he wants to sell you another one. I'm joking. I really don't know. Because of low-end phase cancellations, that is true. This is an important topic for us bass-heavy guys. David Allen, I don't feel comfortable about replying this because I don't have experience with 2 subs. I can tell you one thing, that if anyone has an financial interest in selling you something, you should double check what they say. That's just me. You know, if I tell you, hey, this pen will, you know, get you in a better shape or improve your performance, buy it. I will double check, you know, my statement, just because I haven't, you know, financial interest in this. Look how many people has 2 subs and how many people has 1 sub. I haven't seen many 2 subs set up, if not mastering rooms. Mastering rooms, I see that a lot. And my feeling is mastering rooms, like only mastering rooms, dedicated, professional, have such an accurate measurement and positioning, and they go for the last 5% of what they can get out of a room and a monitoring system. That makes sense. If you have to, I don't know, spend 10 grand more to get another sub, or maybe 20 to get another sub, that quality, amp, measuring, taking slabs of, you know, rocks and shit to put the subs on and stuff like that, just for the last 5%, that makes sense for them because that's what they do. Honestly, I don't have any personal experience with 2 subs set up, so I really don't know. I don't know. Next question. I hope this is the best I can do with this 2 subs thing. Will Hill, what's your approach to multi-tracking a band live in a venue you're not so familiar with? Oh, okay. Hold on, let me open this up. What processing do you do always in the tracking stage? I don't track. I haven't been recording for about 6-7 years, something like that. So I don't know, and I never did live tracking. I've done few live mixes for a Canadian artist. It's a friend of mine when he was around and I was around, but I don't do any live tracking or live mixing really. I'm not. I don't record anything. I could give you some advice for specific things in studio because I've been recording for more than 10 years in studio, but live, I got no fucking idea. Really, sorry. Why is this stream so quiet? Because my microphones apparently is quiet, and I apologize for that, but this was also a test. I couldn't do much better than this. Let me try. What if I put it like here? Who knows? Well, at this point it's like way too late, but I don't fucking know. Let's see if the signal goes up a bit. Yeah, it goes up a bit, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of weird for me. I don't know. The signal, it looks worse. Whatever. I'm sorry, guys. We'll do this better next time. But at least I know now that I can get, you know, audio in and video in some way, because I will have to have the Pro Tools feed and the screen capture. So yeah, all right. Creative mixing versus general mixing. The creative mixing happens after the general mixing, meaning the general mixing is getting shit technically correct. Does it make sense? This is how I usually do it anyway. So the creative part for me happens when there's nothing else to fix. So I have a steady, consistent, well-sounding, balanced mix that has no life in it. There's no automations, there's nothing that moves, or not any particularly interesting effects. But once everything is balanced and it's somehow, you know, it could go out that way. Let's put it this way: general mixing, getting shit technically correct, the mix could go out that way. At that point, I'm able to be creative, and I start to be creative, and you know, because there's nothing that bothers me in the mix, so my mind is not distracted by things that I don't like, and I can improve it. You know, it would be like, I don't know, working on a car that is all dirty, or adding things to a car, tuning parts of a car that is all dirty. You're gonna wash it first. So the general mixing for me is that part, is getting shit technically right, and then you can start being creative and try things. Paul Lucas, thank you. You use the same compressor and EQ for the double vocals and lead vocals. Thank you so much for answering the question. Daniel Joan, you're welcome. Hello, Mackie. No, I don't. I use my main compressor for vocals is my distressor, and usually, it's my distressor for lead vocals, for the mono lead vocals, and for stereo sum, when I sum the vocals to the doubles and everything, it's either the Tegeler Cream if I'm not using it on the 2-bus, or the Expressor. For doubles, I don't use hardware, but no, I don't use the same compressor for doubles that I use for leads. I usually use, I don't know, let me think about it. For the doubles is usually the CLA 76 from Waves, or the RVox, which I also use in combination with the distressor, by the way, on the lead vocal. And then what else? What compressors? I should open Pro Tools and take a look. I know the CLA 76 is one. What the hell? I'm remembering none of the compressors I have that I use for vocals. 76 would be the main one, the most common. CLA3A2 for doubles. I use a lot of distortion on doubles. But yeah, RVox CLA76. These are my go-to for vocals. Oh, the MJUC2 on lead vocals, not on the double. Doubles, I can use limiters on doubles too. I can use like the L1, and I use that one on lead vocals too. All right, next one. Holy shit. I'm trying to read you all. Time marches on when to use clipping on the master bus for mixing or just mastering. I use clipping, it depends. I think we can say I use clipping on both. Because of my mastering, because my 2-bus chain has the tape saturators, the Neves, which do add clipping, like saturation, clipping saturation, and right now I'm using the Dione. I've been using the Dione that also has a THD, which is not clipping, but it's some sort of a harmonic distortion. So, but the Neves do soften the transient in that sense, as a clipper, as a soft clipper does. So I use, in that sense, I use that in mixing too, on the whole mix. I use clipping on single tracks and groups like all the time when mixing. All my groups and pretty much all my transient based tracks have some sort of clipping in it. This is how you get the mix to be potentially loud. And then the final clipping that you're talking about in mastering, that one, I leave that just for mastering. So I clip first. Usually my chain for mastering, you know guys, it's K-clip first and either Pro L or Ozone Maximizer. Few times, that's for the limiting part. Few times before the K-clip, I use the limiter number 6, which is a free plugin. It's fucking amazing. And I think now they came out with a gentleman edition, which I want to check it out. But each one, let's say I use all three, L6, K-clip, and the final limiter, which could be Ozone or Pro L. Each one is taking out 1 to 2 top 3 dB of gain reduction. But yeah, that kind of final stage clipping is just for mastering. My clipping during mixing on the 2-bus is a byproduct of me using the Neves, but on single tracks and groups, I clip all together. As in, I use clippers all the time. I mean, sorry, on bass, drums, vocals, you name it. There's a lot of clipping. Just be careful with that, because you know sometimes the bad distortion can be masked, especially on certain frequency regions. So you might not hear it there or in the mix, but it's there. It's gonna bother you later when you go mastering and squash everything to oblivion. And that little bit of clipping, bad clipping distortion that you had in the mix and you weren't hearing before can pop up. So this is experience. You will get a hold of it by doing it. Next question. Should sustained instruments like synthesizer, string be parallel compressed? Yeah, why not? Adrian Costa, yeah, absolutely. What you want to avoid is, again, like we said, is parallel EQing them or modulation for sustained instruments and melodic instruments. Too much modulation, they will start to sound out of tune, especially if the parallel signal is high enough. And parallel EQ, if not used, if a linear phase is not used, it's going to cause a phase shift and cancellation. But yeah, parallel compression, yeah, sure, why not? Strings, I did soundtrack for a game. It was like 40, 50 tracks of synth. I parallel compressed them all. There's no side effects by parallel compressing those kind of instruments. Please explain jitter. I am not that good. Shift B, I believe you talk about the converters. I have not the technical knowledge by any stretch of imagination to answer something like that. I don't. The little I know is that jitter cannot be avoided. It just can be contained somehow. So, but that's as far as I can go, and I'm not even sure of that. So it's no, I don't have the technical knowledge to answer that. Sorry, that you guys give me too much credit. Daniel John, the passive attenuators pad -20 on the preamps can change the tone in some way, like removing some high frequency or something like that. Yes. It doesn't really affect, and it change how much and what does it change from pre to pre. But I have a very obvious example here with my API 512. The pad changes the tone of the preamp, not because it changes the frequency response of it. It just changed the gain staging, and that in turn will change somehow the end result, the frequency response on the output. If the question is can he, yeah, it does. How much depends on the pre, and can you live with that? Well, sometimes if you can't move the mic back or can't lower the level of the source, it's the only way you have it. So you gotta make it work. Make it high. Piotr, 100% right. Thank you. Fuck you, money. That's a lot of brain food. 60s. It's David L. And again, is analog mono and digital mono the same? Yeah. I'm not sure I'm following the question. Yeah, it absolutely. If the signal is mono, is mono. Maybe what you mean is because you have two speakers playing, a mono signal is not a true mono. That's what the analog mono could be. Can be debated. That's why people have one orton, because that's considered the true mono coming from one speaker somehow. But I don't know, I don't have a mono speaker. I mean, if I want mono coming from one source, I click a mute right on my controller. It just, the sound comes from one speaker. That's pretty much, that's easy. But yeah, as a concept, a mono signal is mono and digital and analog. Yeah. Juanime Wu, I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. Do you believe this is a level of quality that can be achieved with hardware plugins? That's software plugins left. Distortion. Okay, hold on a second. This. Okay, so you mean if the plugins are up to par with hardware? Yes, they are. That period. They are. Are they the same? No, they are not the same, but they are equally good. So the byproduct of that question would be, if my mixes don't sound professional, is because I need hardware? No, it's because, not you, but because whoever needs to be a better engineer or to have a better monitoring system. That's usually the main reason why a mix doesn't sound well. But the level of quality you can achieve with plugins, it's the same you can achieve with hardware. We can argue that hardware is somehow less precise and less clean and adds a lot of what on paper is nonlinearities and imperfections. But that's also why we like hardware, because digital is too perfect, it's too plasticky. But it's not. Hold on, when I say digital is too perfect and plasticky, doesn't mean that with plugins you can't change that. You can change that. Absolutely you can. And plugins are amazing today. Let's put it this way. Hardware is a luxury. Plugins are a necessity. So if you point a gun at my head and ask me, you can have either your hardware or your plugins. I think any mixing engineer in the world today is going to tell you plugins. All the way. If I have to choose between 1 and 2 and have only plugins or only hardware, there's no fucking contest. I will pick plugins every day. And I can make a mix sound good with plugins only. And so can you, and so can all of you. Plugins are not a bottleneck today. Okay, next question. How do you know when a mix is finished? For me, it's fairly easy when the deadline comes. But I know what you mean. Time marches on. And this is the problem. If you are mixing your own stuff and you don't have deadlines, and you don't use self-discipline to give yourself a deadline if you don't have one, a mix will never gonna be finished. You will, if you have the chance to tweak it, you will do it. This is why we do. This is why we do what we do. This is why we mix, because we like to tweak shit and make things sound better. So if you don't have a deadline, if you don't set a date in which you tell yourself, by this day this mix needs to sound the best it can, you will never consider it finished mentally. And as for when you can consider it finished, when there's nothing that bothers you. When you listen to the song, there's nothing that gives you a bad vibe or makes you, if you're head banging, it makes you stop like this and go, whoa, something happened that I didn't like. If you react to a certain part when you don't get good feeling from the mix, it's not finished. If you compare to other mixes and yours is way behind, it's not finished. But if you compare to some commercial mix and it's just different, that it's normal. Especially if you mix your own art, your own music, it's really hard to listen to your music and think, that's amazing. Of course you got inspiration from someone else. We all did. Of course you got inspiration from some other mix. So it's really hard to consider your own mix better or up to par. It's a healthy feeling, but at some point you need to let a mix go, and whatever you didn't get right in that mix, just close it and get things right in the next mix. Don't keep tweaking the same shit over and over, because you're just you're gonna paint on a paint on a paint. You're not gonna get any better. You lose objectivity, the mix is not gonna get better, and you don't have a fresh mind. So set deadlines. This is how, look at this. This is how pro work. Professionals have deadlines. So they have to finish a mix by tomorrow or in the next 5 days. If you are at home and working on your stuff and you want to get the same results that a professional gets, and you don't put yourself in the same mindset they are, you will never go into. You don't have a deadline, but you have to set one, because that will cut the crap out, because you don't have time. You have to finish the mix. So automatically your brain, our brain as a human species, will have to filter the shit out and focus on what's important. That's how you know that the mix is finished. Otherwise it's never gonna be finished, and you just run out of time. Okay, next one. What is your mastering chain? What is in your mastering chain? Mine is only dual band limiter and maximizer for bringing close to zero, because my mixes are great. Do you suggest anything else? Jenny Wu. No, If I master my own mixes, I only have usually one EQ, which has probably 1 or 2 moves, and then a clipper and a limiter. That's about it. If I master mixes from other people, then it can be anything. Then it can be an EQ, it can be my mastering EQ hardware, it could be the Neves, could be one of my main compressors, which I have so many. I can pick between the Dione, API 2500, Tegeler Cream, or could be my drummer multiband. It could be fucking anything. If I mix something that someone else mixed, could be a stereo widener. I like the Ozone Imager. It could be a de-esser. But my mixes have one EQ, just because in case I find something that, you know, it passed through me while I was mixing, for adjusting, and a clipper and a limiter. Maybe after a couple of days, if I'm mixing an album, I hear a song and I can use a little bit more top end or something, but that's it. No. Great tracks are done in mix, not in mastering. Richard Villa, thank you, David. Thank you for the reply. I had another question. When it comes to mixing vocals, what effects are absolutely essential? What gives vocals that professional sound? The vocals itself, the microphone, the recording. Given the recording is good, given the performance is good, I can say compression is definitely a type of processing that modern vocals require for the most part. Volume riding, most cases too. A simple EQ to rebalance whatever a given vocal needs to. For example, even just taking out the resonance of the body of the mic, reshape the high end, cutting out too much high end, and making the cut a little resonant, so you add some presence for modern vocals. One processing that I don't want to say is mandatory, but it helps a lot with vocals, and I use them on vocals a lot, is multiband compression, because human vocals have a lot of different dynamics for different parts of the frequency range. Some singers, of course, sing in very wide range, so they have maybe 2K that comes up here and there, and it's a lot more difference dynamic wise than the low end, or the other way around. Who has a deep voice usually tend to make the low end move a lot more than who has a thinner voice. So multiband compression in general is something that I use very often. Other than that, maybe a particular kind of high-end boost, which you need to pick based on every time based on what vocals. I mentioned before the SPL Pass EQ is very unique. The Mag EQ is nice for vocals. My Chop Shop EQs are good for vocals. What else? The API for a more rock sound. So that's not a real special kind of plugin for vocals. It's a combination of compression. Saturation helps a lot, either hardware or not. Saturation on vocals help a lot. Good de-essing, that's key for vocals. Good de-essing, and that's pretty much it. Parallel compression works on vocals as well as direct compression, but no secret that I can think about right now. I do construct very complex effects chain for vocals. I'll show you this album that I'm mixing right now. I have something like, I don't know, the slots on Pro Tools, the sends are all full, and aside from a couple that are parallel compression, they're all effects. They're all effects that go to, then they radiate to other parallel effects channels. So effects, it's something I work a lot, and I construct very complex chain with reverbs, delay, doublers, modulation, throws, delays, parallel distortion. All right, next one. and then I'm gonna, oh my god, I'm gonna close this in 15 minutes, guys, because yeah, it's been a couple of hours and I start to be a little tired, and yeah. Okay, next question. Your channel is great, I've learned a lot. Question, do you have to edit stuff before mixing? For example, melody, vocals, and everything is 100% ready for mixing? No, I don't edit. I don't edit. That's not my job. That's the producer job. I don't tune, I don't time, I don't edit. When the stuff gets on my desk, I mix what I get. If I realize something is wrong, I will tell them. I will tell them, hey, this vocals is out of tune here, or this drum or this bass is, you know, not timed well. Do you want me to mix it like that, or you want to fix it and send it to me? So I know how to do it, of course. I know how to tune vocals, and you know, I did it for years and timed. Oh my god, the shit I timed drums and bass and stuff. And of course, if there's one bit that is off, or a hit or two, I will do it myself. I'm not an ass like that. But generally speaking, no, I don't edit. That is not my job. That is not a mixing engineer job. All right, next. Did you ever run into not liking your mixes for months? I've tried pushing through a bad period. I'm still stuck. Not a period. Not a period. A song or an album or a series of mixes that I wasn't particularly happy with. Yes, that is normal. My way was to get out of it, was start from scratch, meaning everything that was my default, even if I don't have so many defaults like hardware or templates. I don't use templates, but I have some default way of doing things. Let's say, for example, I didn't change that, but I always use parallel compression on vocals, or I always start from the drums mixing, and I leave the vocals for last. So these kind of steps, default steps that you have, just cancel all that. Force yourself to go in, you know, out of your comfort zone. If you're not happy with your mixes, changes the way you approach the mix. Even just by starting from something different, that you always start from the drum, start from the vocals. You start from the vocals, start from the drums or the guitars, or you know, you used to solo stuff a lot, don't. Or you don't solo ever, just start doing that. So force yourself to take the opposite decision and a different approach to what is your comfort zone, because obviously it's not giving you results. I hope this answered the question. Emeka Okiki, hello Guru, thank you. When dealing with ambience, how do you get everything sounding like it's in the same space while using multiple reverbs? Could you talk about types of reverb that work well together? Yeah, okay. I have one very simple tip for this specific scenario. Like, you want everything to sound like they are in the same room. One thing that you can do is you set up a main reverb, which has to be, this answer, the second part of your question, a definite space, meaning either a room, a big room, a hall. So not one of those reverbs like shimmer, not one of those reverbs that don't give you a real space algorithm. Okay, makes sense? So you have to be inside four walls. So you have to have a reflection. You have to pick one kind of that. Don't pick a plate reverb or an arena, or I don't know, even churches. Just stay in the rooms and halls algorithms. Four walls. Many plugins have a way to shape the size, the early reflection, back and forth, left and right. That will give you the space, definite space. Then you set this reverb on a aux channel, and On top of that, just graphically to give you a visual representation, you open, let's say, 4 or 5 delays, and you set, before sending your elements, let's say a vocal, snare, and guitars, before sending vocal, snare, and guitar to your reverb, you send them to one of these delays. Now, how do you set these delays? These delays are going to be the distance from the listener and will delay the signal going into the reverb, which is going to be the same reverb. But this is how you place the elements in different parts of the room, the same room, which is our reverb down here. So let's say this one has a delay of 5 milliseconds. This one, the next one is gonna have 15 milliseconds. That one, that's too much. 5. Let's say this one's gonna have 10. This is gonna have 12. This is gonna have. You can go. Even how much you want in 30 milliseconds. That basically what I'm saying is you need to set up 4 or 5 different pre-delays, which are going to be routed to your reverb, to one reverb. So every time you send a source to your reverb, you make it go through one of these pre-delays, so that the longer the delay, the further away that element will be in the room. So same room, different spot. If the first delay has 2 milliseconds, the element is going to be right here. 10 milliseconds or 8 milliseconds is going to be a little back, and then back again. By having the same reverb, well, they are in the same space. So that's one trick. The second trick is to use multiple reverbs in your mix, but that has so many variables that I cannot even begin to tell you what, because first of all, I'm not that great at reverbs, as in I get the result, but I spend a lot of time with them, and I usually have 10, no, not 10, but 6, 7 reverbs different. Mostly I use rooms, ambience, and halls. Very rarely plates. That's my way, and EQ them differently. It really there's no better advice that I can give you. Just combine them and trust your ears. What I do usually, I don't look at the screen. I look down, or I close my eyes and I try to imagine the space, the elements I want the elements to be, and I pick the reverb based on that. For real spaces, I like convolution reverbs, and mostly I use deverb stock. That's how basic I am. But I process the return of the reverbs a lot with saturation and EQ and compression, and sidechain compression too. All right, next question. Thank you, Omen. Andrea and Adrian Costa, any recommendation for ear training regarding frequencies? No, not really. The best ear training for me is listen to a lot of music casually. Listen to music, everything you do if you can. And this will sound weird, but try to listen this. I know some of you was gonna vomit. Try to listen the same. Pick a song you like. Try to listen to that song for like on loop for, I don't know, 3-4 days. When you're in the car, when you're making food or something like that, that will give you a level of familiarity with that song that if you then use it on every system, even if it's on a room that you don't know, as a reference, you will know it so well that you will have a reference point no matter what. Like, it happened to me several times. This is why I've been experimenting with this, and it works. Like, for example, I was mixing and I wasn't in my room. I didn't have my headphones with me. I had another pair of headphones. This is the technique I use to get a feeling and training my ears. I have at least 4 or 5 songs that I listened to them so many fucking times on purpose, on loop, while I was doing things, training, cooking, cleaning the house, that I know them so well. I know how they make me feel. And those are a reference that is beyond variables, if that makes sense. So this is my advice for ear training. Just listen to music all the fucking time. In, you know, from all kinds of systems. And that's it. You could get an EQ and try to, you know, pinpoint frequencies. Just turn a knob and say, hey, okay, that's 200, and then take a look if you're right or not. But if you've been mixing for a while, you already do that. I do that. I know what frequency. I mean, if I listen to a bass and I say, oh, there's too much 400, I know it's 400. I don't need to look at it. So that is experience. All right. Next one. Hey, David, could you turn the mic? I can't. Sorry. I'm sorry for the low volume mic. This is going to be fixed next time. Sorry, guys. This time it just went this way. It was a test for me, and I apologize for the mic thing. Oh, what else? All right, last 5 minutes. I'll try to keep a question. Is analog box in the mono same in turning stereo fit? I think is analog mono in the box same when turning stereo files into mono? Analog mono. Yes, it's the same. It's the same. Mono, when you turn in mono is mono. Unless you use a weird fucking plug-in processing that somehow compensate for the low end loss. It's, yeah, when you mono in analog or digital is the same. Alright guys, last question. Daniel John, multiband compression on the vocals should be applied before or after the normal compression? This is not something you decide before trying it. As a general rule, let's put it this way. If I hear a vocal and it's widely dynamic and I kind of get the feeling that I need to use a multiband compressor, then I would use the multiband compressor first. Because, see, if you follow me, it makes sense. Because if you need to use a multiband compressor, it's because the vocals is all over the fucking place in different spots. So, first thing, you just get the big things out of the way with a multiband compressor. If you need to use a multiband compressor, that's why you want to use it, because you have to take big chunks in big portions, in different parts of the frequency spectrum, so that the wideband compressor can work a little gentler, you know, a little more gently. It has an easier job because it's fed a signal processed by the multiband compressor, that is already, you know, a little bit rebalanced both dynamically and frequency wise. Because that's why you would use a multiband compressor in the first place, so that the wideband compressor not only has an easier job, but you can also add one that adds color and, you know, forget about, oh my god, this vocals was a dynamic fucking mess, and actually try to enhance that with a wideband compressor. There's something to be said though, because my multiband compressor, the drummer, has such a nice boost when you compensate for the high end, that I usually leave that last. But that's a specific thing of this multiband compressor. If I use a C6 or a Fab Filter multiband, I would use it before the wideband compressor 90% of the time. All right, thank you guys for chiming in. Arlo, hi. Yeah, sorry guys. Alban, hello. All right, guys. So we got 2 hours and a half, and I need to eat. It's kind of late. I am so sorry for the microphone thing volume. I hope this was somehow useful anyway. And I know for next time we'll get the SM7 here or another microphone. I will get the audio in. I'm an audio engineer at the end. Even that this is why I don't record shit. All right. So sorry. Thank you guys for chiming in. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for being here. Let me know anything in the comments down below if you're watching this on replay. And yeah, we're gonna do this again if you guys liked it. Thank to all the guys who supported the channel by donating with super chat. And stay tuned for new videos coming up. Check out the personal channel if you are not on it already. And I'll see you next time. Have a good night, guys.